Hello, everybody. I know that I have not recorded an episode for you guys for Aaron's show, but don't worry, we certainly have not forgotten about this great podcast and great YouTube channel. So the last time where we left you, where we were speaking with Jason Polanski. He was telling us a lot about Space Camp for the Blind and his interesting experiences in Nashville, Tennessee. Jason, welcome back for part two. How are you? Tell everybody what's going on and how you're doing.
Doing well. It's a beautiful day, and yeah, life is good. I can't complain.
Well, good. Our listeners appreciate that. Okay, where do you want to take the show tonight, man? What do you want to talk about? Do you want to keep talking about the different interesting things that you learned about the laws and entertainment law? Because I think that's really interesting, and I think a lot of our listeners and viewers who might be blind might find that to be really good to know. So actually, yeah, why don't you start there, and we'll see kind of how things go along. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. So we didn't. I mean, my instructor, so he had a law background. We didn't go into the laws themselves extremely deep, but yeah, I mean, we talked about copywriting and record deals, um, and some of the processes involved with that. We didn't. The thing is, it was kind of a crash course. I mean, we didn't really do a lot of practicing with that. We were more focused on, planning the tour and getting the shows, producing them. We didn't really get into the law a lot, but it was definitely interesting to learn about.
Cool.
To kind of scratch the surface with it. But what I'd like to talk about is kind of so each member of the business track had a couple of shows that we had to produce, meaning that we would decide the order of the show, how it would kind of the flow of it, if that makes sense, and make sure that the artists had everything that they needed, and that they were doing well, that they weren't nervous, like that kind of thing. So that was pretty fun doing. My first show that I produced was Covers Week. So those in the artist track, they all performed covers. Um, one of one of them did "When I Come Around" by Green Day. One of them did a Taylor Swift song. One of them did "Sign Still Delivered" by Stevie Wonder. So it was pretty cool to see them. The artists as they matured. They started out writing their own songs, and then the week that I produced, it was Covers Week. So to see them do covers and to see them, kind of put their little spin on it and what have you, and yeah, and then I produced again one of the shows, one of the final ones before we started getting ready for the tour. Um, so yeah, it was cool to see, just everything progress so quickly. With they had to have their demos ready, and by the beginning of the week, and then practice it and hammer time on Wednesday, be ready to perform it on Thursday. So, and then Friday was game tape. So the instructors would go through the show and kind of tell us what we did well and what we didn't do well, and almost kind of like a football player. When they after the game, the next day they'll usually sit with the coach and watch the game and go through it and talk about how they can improve. So it was really hands on, just really a lot of good life lessons you get out of that, out of an experience like that.
Mm. I'm glad you mentioned the life lessons. That leads to another interesting question. What was the most unexpected life lesson that you learned in Nashville?
Yeah, I think it was probably how to be amicable is kind of the word that the director used to describe me. How to just handle yourself and like keep calm in all situations, no matter how crazy it might be, especially during the tour when you have all the kinds of stuff, equipment moving around and you can't see what's happening and people can't always stop and explain things to you, right? So one tool that I did take advantage of and that I still use was am a subscriber to IRA, which is for those who don't know, it's a service. Basically, you can use it through your smartphone, or you can get the Horizon Kit, which is what I have. Runs off of basically a phone that's specifically for IRA, and it connects you to an agent. The agent has a dashboard where they can see what's happening around you. And I also have a pair of glasses that attach to the smartphone. And so, they were able to kind of, one time, when everybody was kind of packing things up, it was right before the tour, we were at a place called Soundcheck, where we basically a big venue where artists come and practice and make sure that they have everything ready before the tour. And it's kind of like just this big venue, all the major celebrities in Nashville, a lot of them go there to practice and get their equipment tuned and everything. So we were at Soundcheck and everybody was, we were getting ready to pack everything up. And so it was it's kind of like a lot of organized chaos, as I was mentioning. So I was having Ira kind of describe to me what was happening, what people were picking up and moving. And, it was one person was we each kind of had different roles, right? So the techs were doing a lot of the moving things around and setting things up. And then, the production manager, if you will, was kind of in charge of everything. And so it was just really cool to have, to be able to have Ira describe things to me. And, even when I was in Nashville, they took some pictures of, the city and like the Parthenon that's there. And, when we would go out on excursions or what have you. And I mean, I find it pretty helpful in my daily life, for just sometimes something on the computer that I need to click a button, can't get JAWS to click it, I can call them and they'll click it. Or, if I'm cooking something or I need to read something, it's just, it's kind of like having eyes whenever you need it. Yeah.
So what you learned how to do in this, and this is really cool, really
I
fascinating.
learned how to take advantage of all my tools, the people
you
around
learned
me, my knowledge that I had, the technology that I had, and just, be able to try to use all those things, plus, my intelligence and my intuition, and use all those things to
What
learn
about
what I needed to learn and
what about
do what I needed to do.
what about your motivation? Don't sell yourself short.
Yes.
Your motivation to do this, even if this was challenging for you. Um, if I had been in university, I would not have been able to do something like this. I would have, to be overly honest, I would have certainly gotten too flustered by all of these things. There were probably parts of it that I would have liked, but overall, it wouldn't have been something that would have been suitable for me at the time. So, but this is really fascinating. So you found out about this app on the App Store called Ira. Um, I mean, I vaguely have heard of it through Facebook, but so what happens? So you create an account with Ira, and then how do you actually go about using the tool of Ira? What exactly happens?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways you can do it, just through your phone app itself using the phone camera, or if you pay a little extra, you can get the Horizon Kit, which is you get a phone that's specifically just for Ira. It's an Android phone, but it's like everything else is disabled. It's made just for Ira, and it it's probably the best way to go if you're out and about, because I mean it's video. So if you're using just your regular phone, you're gonna be using a lot of your data, a lot of your battery. So and then the glasses, there's like a rope kind of wire that has like I think they call it like a micro USB, and it connects, plugs into the glasses and then plugs into the jack on the phone. So you don't have to use it with the glasses all the time, but it's nice for, like, say you're in an airport or you're, you know, walking somewhere. Uh, just you don't have to hold up the phone; they can see through the glasses.
Cool, cool.
And they're
Now,
also doing some neat things with the
no, let's
Bose
let's let's
frame
okay,
glasses.
let's slow down because our listeners, I kind of know what you mean, but we need to step by step
Oh,
explain it.
right.
So you kind of jump. It's okay. You jumped ahead a little bit too quickly there. So, okay, got it. So let's say that I need a project, and I'm just gonna, let's say, put the app, go to the app store, download iRep, put it onto my phone, create an account with Facebook, sign in through Facebook, get the account that way, get it all set up. But then here's the question though. Um, so then these people who are on the other end, are
Right.
they like delivering their annotation to you via text? Are they just talking in your ear?
They're
Um,
talking to you. Yeah. So they they're trained. So they can be anywhere in the world basically, and they're trained on how to describe things, and so they have like a dashboard. They have access to Google Maps. They have access to. They basically describe whatever you need them to describe through the camera.
okay. Now, is Ira an app just for blind people, or could anyone use it?
Um, well, they actually have it set up now so that I think anybody can use it as a guest for certain, like, after the first 5 minutes of every call, it's free now. And then there are some locations that are IRA access locations. I mean, I think they kind of only want people who are legally blind using it. And I don't think you sign up through Facebook. You can sign up. They basically just like send you. I think I did it through the website, but I think now you can. Uh, they'll like just send you like a text message code to verify your phone number, kind of thing.
Right, right.
And it depends on whether if you're just using the free version. I think that's all you have to do. If you're paying for the minutes, you'll have to call customer service and get a credit card or something set up connected to the service. Um, but then there are also locations that are IRA access points, meaning that they're free for anyone.
Mm,
So I think certain Target stores in the Baltimore area and I think in the Minneapolis area are free locations,
mm-hmm.
as well as all AT&T stores, all Walgreens stores are locations, and I'm pretty sure any hotel where there's an NFB convention is also a location, at least for the time of the convention. I don't know what it's like, afterwards. Um, so even like the state conventions are free IRA access points.
Hmm. Well, I certainly appreciate the part about the pharmacy, the Walgreens. That's really important.
Yeah.
When a blind person, good heavens, when my parents, when they go to the pharmacy, they they have to figure out if they're getting the right medication for them, and they have perfect vision. They're sighted, so it must be really hard for people who are blind to make sure that they're getting what they're supposed to get at the pharmacy. So that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you find um, the agent on the other end, the person who was basically describing what was happening
Oh,
around you? Okay,
yes. So
so that's critical. So
it just connects you. So it's just kind of whoever picks up. You hit the call button on your app or on your Horizon phone. You know, on the Horizon device, you hit the button twice. On the iPhone, you just hit the call our agent, and then it just connects you with whoever is available, basically. And
so
it usually happens within a few seconds.
Right, right. Now, I'm not right at this particular moment. I'm a very private person, so I'm not going to give out my employer. But I will tell you that I work online, and I will tell you that I'm a teacher online. So, although it might have seemed like the person was on the other end ready to go, probably what it is they have certain hours of the day, and that if you're an agent for this company, you sign up for the hours that you want to be online, and the agents are competing with each other to see who can get to the calls first and who can talk the longest. That's probably what it is. So just, and I'm just saying that for the listeners, it's not, these apps that connect people with other people in the world, it's not necessarily a magical thing. There's oftentimes those people are working, it's their job to do that, and oftentimes they work very hard competing with other agents at certain hours or at certain peak times of the day to get to the call, and it's quite competitive, I will tell you. So did you, when you were working with these agents and they were telling you things, did you ever find an agent, number one, who really struggled with some of the environments that you were in? Because you were, I think, probably in one of the most challenging or unusual environments for them to describe.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, actually, I had some who were like really into music and had, taught music and done theater before, so they kind of knew what it was like, but it's still different. There's a big difference between, a typical musical theater show and, a concert tour with all this technology. There are some similarities, but it's a lot more moving parts, I would say. Uh, but they kind of knew a little bit about it. And then there were some who didn't really have any experience in that, but tried to describe it best they could, and they were like, well, it seems like a pretty organized and pretty interesting operation. Yeah.
That's a riot. If they didn't know what to say, they say, "Oh, this is pretty interesting, pretty organized."
Yeah.
I mean, Jason, you could have called me. I mean, I can say, Jason, I think you're in a pretty interesting and organized operation. I got that sentence. I can memorize that.
Yeah.
That okay? That's hilarious. But no, I mean, I'm sure they meant well, but that's not really what you say if you don't know what's going on. Um,
Yeah.
that is hilarious. Oh man, listeners are gonna love that. Um, but so after the call with the IRA person, after they were done, describing for you, number one, could you get an email that showed you the transcript of everything that they said? And what could you do for follow up and rating the agent and things like that?
Oh yeah, you can rate the agent as a good or poor, and then you can write a comment as to how they helped you. And then if I need something read to me, like they can
Mm-hmm.
take a picture and type it up and send it to me in an email. Especially if it's like a bill or something. Like I've done it, or my mail. Something
Mm-hmm.
important. Um, so yeah, they can also just take pictures for me. Like one
Screenshot.
time I had them take a picture of like the band setup, and they'll just it just goes. You can actually just access it right through the app, through the
Hmm.
More tab, and you can copy it or share it to your social media, send it to your friends, whatever. So
And
that's really useful for blind
one
people. Cause,
thing, yeah, yeah, and one thing that occurred to me that blind people need to be aware of, and I know you're aware, but I'm just saying it for the show, is that we always need to be careful about our security and what information we give out. So, what do you know about the company IRA? Are they screening these agents? Do the agents go through extensive background checks and training? Because you know most are obviously well intentioned, but obviously you don't want to show personal things like a mail or bills or checks to just anyone like that, even if they're helping you. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the
yeah,
agency's ethics and security?
yeah, I think they're pretty good with it. Their agents are background checked, and everything is confidential.
Mm-hmm.
I think they sign
Oh, wait a
And
minute. Let me make a correction, Jason. When this in this day and age, nothing is confidential. Let me just correct that. Okay, trust me, nothing is a secret anymore. But yes, we say that everything is
well,
confidential.
yeah, but you do have to be careful, but
Yeah.
um, with anything, but I've never heard of any instances where people have had major issues of that nature.
Right, right. But no, and those things do happen on with these companies. You do occasionally you get a rogue person or just some crazy person, but that's the minority. But it is possible. I just wondered about that, because you take a picture of a bill or something, you never know where that's going to end up. So that can be pretty scary.
Yeah, that is true.
But
If
that's
they
cool.
get your
So
address or something, yeah, especially.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, So when was this company like developed, or when did this IRA company start?
I think I want to say like 2015 or 16 was when it
Hmm.
first. Yeah, and it's really taken off in the past few years.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed with my companies that I work for, my companies have really grown rapidly too, and I think more and more things are done from basically half one side of the job is someone at home, the other side is someone like you, like in the music world or in the city doing things, and then the other half are the people at home, as the support. I'm noticing that more and more. So yeah, that's really cool, really really interesting. So let's see. Um, and if someone would ever want to work for IRA, if they're sighted and they want to learn more information, what do you think? What do you suppose they would do? Is there a way for them to get more information?
Yeah, there's definitely stuff on their website. I think there's an application process, and I think the interview process is kind of rigorous, and they pick people who are legitimate, who are going to be good at describing things, and it. I think it is kind of hard to get into as far as being an agent. But
Mm-hmm.
they hire blind people for like customer service roles, and I know one of the guys who used to work for Humanware is now with them, and so uh, yeah, I think, and they have I think Eric Wenmayer, who climbed Mount Everest, first blind guy to climb Mount Everest, is like on their board or something. They have a list of they have, they're getting input from the NFB, from Ray Kurzweil. It's pretty, pretty big deal.
Hmm. So the blind people that they're hiring for the customer service, what do you know about that? I think a lot of our listeners would be interested to learn more
Yeah, I
about
don't
that.
know a ton about it. Yeah, there's, I think they hire, I don't know if some of their, I think some of their executives are definitely are blind, and um, I'm not exactly sure, all the processes for how they do that, but
Hmm. Well,
I'm
well,
sure it's
good.
all on their website somewhere. You call them, always get information, get more information.
Well, good to know. So why don't so by the way, today's episode of Aaron's Show is not sponsored by IRA. But go ahead. Let's have a little fun with it and imagine that it is. So go ahead and give them a plug. Where would they go? What's the website, do you think?
www.aira.io.
Oh yeah, AIRA dot IO. Okay,
Yes.
why is it IO? Hmm.
I'm not sure what that means. I think it's certain businesses, tech companies, is becoming .io is like a new domain that's popping up. Um, in one of my marketing classes, I use something called keywordtool.io for like search engine optimization stuff. So I think it's kind of like a techie thing. It's, yeah. I had never heard of it until
Hmm.
signing up for IRA. But
Interesting. Interesting. Wow. Well, good. Okay. And then do they have like an app in the App Store and all of that type of
yes,
thing?
yeah, you just search for the app, download it. It's pretty easy to get set up with a free account.
Good. Cool. Well, that's all really interesting stuff. So, what other topics do you
Well,
want
I
to
was thinking we
address?
could transition into talking a little bit about employment, because one
Yeah.
thing that IRA does is they can also help you fill out job applications and resumes and those kinds of things. And I'd like to talk about my experience with employment
Go.
right now and some of the work that I'm doing.
Go.
Yeah, so uh, I am actually uh, I actually work in human resources. I work from home as well, and I work for Microsoft. I am a recruiter for software engineers and machine learning and data scientists, and I use LinkedIn Recruiter is kind of my main tool that I use, and Microsoft Teams for communicating with my colleagues and with candidates. And kind of how I got the job was through networking through an
Yeah.
alum of my college. I'm not going to say names,
No,
but
please do not.
yeah,
Right. Right.
but yeah, I connected. Basically, one of my professors, he said, Jason, you should aim big. You should look at Google, look at Microsoft, I could see you in a major company like that. I think you would do really well, and I think, you'd be able to bring something to the table as a blind person. And so those companies are pretty hard to get into,
Yeah.
but I reached out. I went to the career center. I'd say if you're a college student, definitely take advantage of your career center. And I
Yeah.
went to the career center and got got some names of some people to reach out to, and
Mm.
reached out to some people and started a conversation. And uh, long story short, uh, ended up getting connected to this job opportunity.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. That sounds like that could be a lot of fun. And you want to, obviously you're not going to say a name or anything, but I'm sure that some recruits, although the majority of them were amazing people with very advanced skills and advanced backgrounds and a lot of work experience. I'm sure you've also gotten a couple interesting people that didn't maybe said something really weird or really funny or something like that. Can you think of kind of an experience like that where like someone you were trying to recruit someone but they were just too weird or too strange or something like that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely learned a lot about because I mean, going into it, I didn't really know anything anything about the roles that I was recruiting for. I didn't really know much about computer science or engineering, software engineering, but I'm learning a little bit about just some of the terminology. So that's been really interesting, and I've had uh, you know definitely some interesting uh, you know Uh, I've had some interesting conversations. I'm trying to think of, but
Yeah, I have too.
yeah, uh, it's been really grown a lot as a person, I think, and just professionally from it. You know, I'm talking. A lot of them are from India.
Yeah.
They'll go to they'll do their bachelor's in India, and then they'll come over to the States and do their masters and what have you, and a lot of them have worked for Microsoft before in India, and then now they're looking for something in the States. And most of the people I work with are on the West Coast, so sometimes I work a little bit later into the evening. It just depends on people's schedules and what I have going on. But it's which is pretty cool. It is pretty flexible. Uh, sometimes I'll get up early and I'll be able to start say 7:30 in the morning, and then and then be done by before 4 o'clock, and then I could if I have uh, one time I did that. I was about to go on a road trip to see some family 4 hours away, and we wanted to get there. We didn't want to be too late getting there, so I was able to start work a little earlier and finish a little earlier. And then sometimes I start a little later and work a little later into the evening if I'm you know have a call, if I'm calling a candidate later in the day. Because or if I have a meeting when it's 2 or 3 o'clock, in Washington State or in California at 6 o'clock, um, in my location, undisclosed location. So it is. So it does. I've definitely learned how to, manage my time and how to, be flexible, which is good for just life in general, I think.
I agree. That's really interesting. Yeah. So, what was or who was basically the most who was your most interesting applicant? Where you talked to them and then you thought, wow, that's a really interesting person. You know, obviously you can't say who it was, but can you try to describe a person like that? It was a really interesting
Yeah.
person.
So I reached out to LinkedIn Recruiter. It's kind of like search engine optimization. So I put in different keywords and locations and that I'm looking for, different skill sets, and it brings up a big list of people, and then I add them to the project, and I can basically contact 25 people at a time.
Sure.
And so it's always interesting to see like the response rate and how it works. And I've definitely had candidates from who have been in different parts of the country. Candidates who work for competing companies. It's definitely makes things interesting. See the work that they've done, and then how they want to translate that over into a potential career with Microsoft.
Right. Right. So interesting. Cool. So have you been on a tour of Microsoft? Have you been out to Seattle?
I have not yet. I've only been doing this for a little over 3 months or so. So yeah, not yet, but I'm sure eventually it'd be pretty cool to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really fascinating. It seems like you've done really well, but it also seems like you had a lot of good support at your university. They really helped you, and they really seemed to have an interest in you.
They did, definitely.
Well, you should be very appreciative of that. I will tell you that.
It's
I
certainly
don't
not the
want
case for everyone.
to. There you go. And it was certainly not the case for me. I'm doing fine now, no worries. But there were a couple of times in history where, looking back, and everybody's like this in life. Gee, you know, I needed a little bit more luck with that one, or gee, I needed to find maybe the right person then, or that person could have been more supportive, or that person didn't need to contact me. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's been kind of my story with life. But yeah, my company is also a tech company out in the West, an undisclosed location, somewhere. But they have people who work, doing teaching work like me from all over the world, and then they have staff who lives all over the world. So, the interesting thing about working from home is you never really know what the other end is going to be. You don't know what country it is. You don't know what time or what season or what's happening. You never know what's going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the magic of the society that we live in now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with this job that you're doing now, I mean, are you able to just pick the hours, like pick shifts that you want to work, or do they just tell you, Jason, tomorrow I need you up by this time and complete this number of applications or something like that? How does it work?
It's basically just like 40 hours a week, and it's kind of flexible as to how I do it. I mean, I don't really deal with applications per se. It's more, we reach out to the candidates and talk to them, and then we, write up their info and get it out to, you know, managers, for more technical interviews. It's the process. Um, yeah,
Right, right.
right.
In Wow, wow. Well, really, really interesting, really fascinating. Okay, good. So, if so, what are some other employment issues that you want to talk about? Because I think that employment is becoming, for us, thanks to God, both of us are employed, and we don't have to worry about this too much. I mean, we both. I mean, everybody has worries. Everybody has things in their life to worry about, but luckily, the issue of employment for me and for you is not as big of a immediate issue. Um, but I will tell you that I've been doing a lot of research about what blind people are going through around the world, and I'm on a lot of these groups, on Facebook. And basically, how this podcast was started was I felt that blind people are just not getting enough support, and that there are a couple people like us who work and are fine, but the majority, in my opinion, kind of need some help. So,
Yeah,
what do you? I mean, am I?
I would
I mean,
definitely
now,
say that that's true. Yeah.
would you? I mean, am I? Is it my imagination, or is that what's going on? Because that could be just my perception. But what do you think?
I would, yeah, I think that that's pretty much what's going on. I mean, I think still only about 70% of blind people in the United States are, are unemployed. So,
Right.
of those who are able or of working age, so that's not a very, very good statistic. And I'm sure in other countries it's probably worse. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Or
know,
in some other, or it
so
depends on the country. I mean,
yeah,
in
I think
some.
there's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done. Um, it's I think part of it's equipping blind people with the skills and the confidence that they need, and part of it's also equipping those who are the employers themselves with
Right.
the desire to hire blind people, and to understand what we're capable of.
Well, it's a two-way street. So what you need is, you need the number one. The blind
Yeah.
person needs to be ready, but then the other end needs to be ready. If you're the recruiter, you need to be ready for the blind person. Yeah. Have you gotten any blind recruits? Anyone? Obviously, they wouldn't tell you, but have you gotten anyone where you think in your mind, I just spoke with someone today. You're done with work and you're eating dinner. You think, a couple hours ago when I was talking to uh, you know, Peter from Russia, for instance. I thought he was blind, but I'm not sure. Have you ever had that experience?
Um, no, I haven't. I have had someone with a speech impediment. Um,
Okay.
but no, I haven't had any blind recruits. I don't know the positions that I recruit for. Um, that would be interesting. I mean, I know that there's blind computer programmers.
Sure.
I mean, I recruit for software engineering, like distributed computing, cloud computing, a lot of that kind of stuff, machine learning. I don't know how many blind people there are in those kinds of fields. We're looking for
Right.
people who are pretty advanced. Obviously, uh, I think it would depend on the position. Some of them positions I think are a little bit visual in nature, but then some of them aren't as much. So it kind of, I think it depends. But that would be interesting if I were to end up, coming across a blind recruit.
Yeah, yeah. I've gotten a couple of students over the years who are blind. One is a professor, one is a something or other. I've had that experience. And then I've had other students who are sighted, but a couple of them actually work with blind people. One was a lawyer. That was really interesting. So it's kind of cool when you're working from home and you interact with someone who has so many things similar to you. That can be very odd and very entertaining and very interesting for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So but the reality, I think, is that I think most blind people, um how do I put this, are, are just, oh boy, Jason, help me here. How do I explain the truth of this? I think a lot of blind people, it's not a lack for trying, but I think that a lot of blind people simply just don't have the appropriate skills
Yeah.
for today, for today's society. And I'm sorry to say that, and I know that's going to bother you as the listener and as the viewer when you're on YouTube watching this. I know you just cringed, but I I don't know. In my opinion, that's the truth. So, what do you think? I mean, what do you think blind people really need to do, just in general around the world? Because obviously, the 99% of them are not going to be one of your recruits on one of your lists. So, what do most of them need to do? What do you think?
Well, I would say, you know, definitely get an education. You know, get, learn how to become confident traveling. Because most jobs are not work from home. So, I'm very fortunate that, when there's 2 feet of snow on the ground, as long as I have power, um, you know, getting to and from uh, isn't really an issue right now. But definitely be confident in traveling in different environments, because if you have to walk to work or take public transit to work, your boss is more than likely your boss is going to want you to come in, even if it's downpouring. So just learn to like develop some good orientation and mobility skills. It can be challenging at times, and you know can be you know sometimes when you got a lot of traffic and it's raining and stuff. It's not always fun, but it's it's part of life. And so I would say get yourself connected with you know the services that you need to be confident in that. I would say as well, technology especially, you know um, of course typing, but then be able to at least have decent skills with find doing research on the internet. You know Something that was a little bit challenging for me at first was learning certain features in Word, like how to read comments and like track changes. That's oftentimes used in a lot of different professions, and so I'm pretty good with it now, but it's not something that you just think of right off the bat per se. There's a lot of technology things that I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Um, Excel, especially. You know, uh, I mean, I think Excel is one of those things that sometimes it isn't taught as much as others, and so trying to finding resources to learn it. Freedom Scientific has kind of revamped some of their training, and so that's been helpful. Uh, there's actually a website called blind.training. It's like a kind of set up more or less like a blog, but it has it's almost like a textbook that you buy. I think they're like $90 a piece, but they go into pretty good detail. And so I got the one for Excel like my sophomore year of college and read through it because I was taking a class called Strategic Use of Information Tech that I needed to. My teacher didn't really know anything about using Excel with a keyboard, and so I was kind of learning and she was learning, and yeah, so it was definitely an interesting experience. And So, learning how to, you know, format basic formatting of documents, I would say, and using spreadsheets, basic formulas, and um, you know, with Excel, there are some visual concepts that I wasn't aware of. I basically you're sometimes if you have too much text inside a cell, then the text in different cells that are next to each other can kind of overlap, right? So you have to go into your ribbon and set it to auto fit uh, the cells so that visually things aren't cropped over and overlapping. That's not something that you're necessarily going to see on the screen per se, but when a sighted person's looking at it, they're going to know that that it doesn't look very well. So
Right.
some of those things, I think. Also, PDFs are another issue. Sometimes you get PDFs that aren't always most accessible. So,
Right.
optical character recognition, OCR program of some kind, be it just JAWS OCR or, you know, there's all kinds of different programs out there. Um, I've used RoboBraille. It's a free service that converts PDFs. But PDFs can be a challenge, and
Yeah.
trying to get people to understand that they're a challenge uh, can be tough because you know when I have to explain to people sometimes that I can read a PDF, but if it's just a picture of the text, it's not really going to help me much. I mean, yeah, I can OCR it, but OCR isn't always accurate. It has improved over time, but it's usually not 100%. So especially when you have numbers and graphs and things in there, it can get crazy.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So I think basically you answered the question that blind people need to be able to really use
The
computers that are very.
technology.
It's about. Do you know how to use the technology, or do you not know how to use the technology? That's
Yeah.
basically what it's about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, everybody isn't, I'm not the most advanced JAWS user. I mean, I think JAWS is really interesting because there's like so many features in there that I think uh, a lot of most of the population uses it probably doesn't know about or doesn't use. And, I mean, you can get really, really advanced and you don't necessarily have to, but, I would say learn, know how to use Word, know how to adjust your font, know how to, you know, adjust your, you know, paragraphs and, at least some of those basic things are definitely, know how to use Excel, know how to browse the internet, use Outlook is another big one. Um, and, Freedom Scientific has come out with they've kind of revamped their training department and they have some good, audio tutorials on those kinds of things. I found those the most helpful. I mean, sometimes I use the JAWS help menu too, but I mean, it's got so much stuff in there that sometimes it can be a little tough to find what you're looking for. I mean, you can adjust, all kinds of different settings, and I mean, there's a few things in there that I adjust, but I mean, I think Word, Excel, Outlook, learn how to use those things, if first before you try to be you try to become, the most power JAWS user is kind of what I would say.
Right. Exactly. Good. Good. Great. Great. Mm-hmm.
And then I know
Yeah.
some blind people like Macintosh. I haven't really had much experience with that, but I'm interested in, what you think about that because
Well, that's what I use. I'm on the Apple side, and I think that Apple is really a lot easier because I think Apple's a lot easier because I don't need to memorize commands as much. It's just,
Even in college, you use Mac
yeah, yeah, definitely.
for
Mm-hmm.
papers.
Yes, definitely.
Wow. So you used Microsoft Word on the Mac, and it worked well.
Mm, no, actually, I think sometimes I would use Word or sometimes I would use Pages, but it kind of depends.
But you were able to format them independently.
Yes, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty easy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, and then you got your MLA and APA and Chicago styles and all that stuff. I mean, most of as a business major, I didn't deal with that a ton. It was mostly MLA, and they
Mm-hmm.
weren't extremely strict about it. But I'm assuming, since you were international relations, they were probably more strict about it. You want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
Well, they were, but my college experience was very different, as I hinted before, because at my college there was not a whole lot of support, and the attitude at my school was not the same attitude that your school had. So you had a much better experience in college, um, with people who were willing to learn with you, people who had an interest. So that's a lot of it too. I think a lot of it depends on the college that you go to.
Yeah.
So originally, how did you find Messiah College?
How did I find it? I went to a college fair during my senior year of high school where there were, just a bunch of colleges, and I just talked to them. I had heard of it before. I mean, I it was only about an hour from where I grew up, and I talked to the admissions counselor and just kind of really impressed by it. All that it offered as far as you know, uh, college life and extracurriculars that I talked about, as well as you know, just the faith aspect was important for me,
Good,
and just in
excellent.
the community aspect. Kind of, I didn't want a huge school. I didn't, I kind of wanted relatively. I didn't want to be stuck in an auditorium full of 500 students like some of these big universities. I wanted a little bit more of a personal experience, and that was basically essentially what I got. So yeah, I was definitely a good decision.
Really good, really cool. And so when you're done with work each day, what are some of your hobbies and things like that?
Oh yeah, so I like going out and taking walks. We have a pond and like a pathway that goes around it near my apartment complex. So I like doing that. I like hanging out with friends in the area. I'm involved in a young adult uh, church group. It's people in their 20s and 30s, and we meet once a week. Sometimes we'll go out to dinner or something as well. It's been a good way to meet people. I like um, I like going to the gym. Using the treadmill. Do a little bit of strength training stuff. Uh, just finding ways to get out. Stay active because when you're inside, your house or your apartment all day working. You got to definitely find ways to get out there. It's no fun to just spend all your life inside. You know, so I try to do that during the summer. Uh, my apartment complex has a pool. I mean, I just moved into it a couple months ago, but I was able to take advantage of that for the last couple weeks that it was open. So I, definitely, when it opens back up, in the summer, I'm gonna take advantage of that. Um, yeah, I enjoy cooking. I like having friends over, uh, especially on weekends. So yeah, it's I'm going to be getting involved in probably some more things as time goes on. I like reading, listening to podcasts, um,
Do
listening to
you
music.
listen? Do you do you do you listen to Aaron's show?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay, good. Just check. Just making sure. Good. Okay. Well, that's great. I think it's really important for you to stay. Yeah, I stay active too. I go sailing when I'm not teaching. If I'm not teaching, a couple times a month I volunteer at a nature center near my home, and I take care of some snakes and some turtles and things like that. That's a lot of fun
Ooh,
for me.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really awesome to get to hold snakes, and I adore snakes. But that's certainly not for everyone. But it's a very therapeutic and very entertaining way for me to, get out and do stuff. So yeah.
Great.
Mm. What about traveling overseas? How much of that have you done?
I really haven't done a lot of traveling overseas. I mean, the farthest I've been, I've been all over the country. In the last episode we talked about, Louisiana and Texas, and I went out to Vegas last summer for the NFA
Yeah,
convention, but I
I
haven't
heard
been.
I heard
Um,
there was a lot of issues, and there was a lot of constructive criticism about what happened over the summer at Vegas, I heard.
yeah, you had to walk through the casino basically to get from the hotel part area to the area where the convention center area. So that was definitely fascinating.
I see. I see. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
It can be quite a gamble to walk through a casino as a blind person when you don't really know where you're going.
Right. Right. Well, one here.
I know you've been overseas quite a bit, haven't you?
I I have, guys. I don't know. My voiceover is very talkative tonight. I don't know why it's so triggered right now. Well, anyway, it's kind of the interesting part about this show. You don't know how the technology um, will help us as we go along. But Jason, I do need to get going. But let me just kind of give ourselves a little outro here, to conclude. I guess that was a really really good show today. And yeah, you are always welcome on my podcast. Anytime you want to come on, just reach out to me and let me know. So let me just go back and remind everybody that this podcast is available for you on Anchor. We're also proud to be pod or broadcasting or podcasting on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, and Radio Public. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more platforms to come. By the way, I'm also starting a group, an online forum where I'm sure you're listening out there and you've always thought, Aaron, I really want to talk to you directly. I really want to send you a message about something. So that's why I want you to keep your eyes open, because I'm going to be posting in my group, in my IO group, about today's episode. I haven't done it yet, so I don't know exactly what you're going to see, but you should make sure to head on over to Aaron's Show on Facebook, our Facebook page, for more information. And Jason, is there anything you want to say to wrap it up?
Yeah. Say definitely. Thank you for having me on. Glad to be able to give insight into my experiences and as a blind person, and doing
Yeah.
all the things that I've done, and hope that those who are listening out there will take the plunge into shall we say getting out of the comfort zone, because I think that's that's kind of sums everything up. When we get out of our comfort zones, we expand and we learn more about ourselves and those around us, and might figure out that we have an interest in things in something that maybe we didn't have an interest in very much previously. So yeah, that's basically all I got to say.
Well, I agree. Great job. Have a good day today and a great day tomorrow.